Hello, can everyone hear me? Okay. Hello, everyone. I can see Sareen is online, and thank you so much for joining the webinar today. Before we begin anything, let me first introduce myself and who I am, and we'll talk more about the freelance CV writing once we proceed ahead. So about me, let me tell you that I am a certified professional resume writer. I love writing resumes. My background comes from the HR itself. I have been a recruiter for the last 10 years, and then I came into becoming a resume writer, LinkedIn profile optimizer. So enhancing people's careers is something that I really do. That's about me. Here is something that I really want to share with all of you before we dive right into understanding what exactly is freelance writing. Just 1 minute. Just want to admit a few people. Hello, everyone, to whoever has just joined me right now for the meeting. So I just began introducing myself saying that I am a certified professional resume writer and I help people improvise their careers. And whenever you want to change your job or you want to improvise in terms of understanding what you want to do next in your careers, I'm the person you have to meet or you can talk to as well. So today our webinar is all about freelance writing. And if you are a freelancer, how can you take that career ahead in terms of CV? Like how a CV will help you give you that placement in terms of being a freelancer. Before we begin, I just want to read one very famous quote by Michelle Obama. That's and her quote says, "Your story is what you have, what you will always have. It is something to own." What does that mean? You know, many a times when I have clients who tell me, I'm not too sure if what I'm doing is right, I'm not too sure if that project that I'm doing is right, all that I tell them is each and every story that you have, or each and every progress in your career that you have is something that you should be proud of. CV is nothing but a story of your career journey. So be proud of yourself, value every step that you have in your career, and mention that in your CV. I hope everyone can hear me well. Okay. So first, let's understand what exactly is a freelancer. Many times you get confused between what is a freelancer or am I doing my own business? Am I self-employed? So freelancer is like a small part of being a self-employed person. Self-employment is a broader word where a lot of things come in between because it's more like running a business. Whereas freelancer is where you begin establishing yourself as a person, as a brand, and then later you may think of starting your own company or your own, being your own self-employment person. So talking about freelancer, the biggest benefits of being a freelancer is that we are flexible. We can work with multiple companies. And the most important thing of being a freelancer is that we need to maintain consistency in terms of timelines, understanding where exactly we should put our foot down or how many projects we should take at once. And I mentioned this word gig in my webinar as well. Gig is nothing but the different types of tasks that we can do. Throughout this webinar, I will be giving you my example. So let me give you a little short snippet about it. Other than being a CV writer, I also do recruitment and I am also a LinkedIn profile optimizer. So when I market myself also as a freelancer, what I mention to people is that I have three different kinds of roles. So if I have a project that comes to me which says that they need a CV writer, then that is the CV that I put forward. So that's the reason gig is very important when it comes to freelance work. So tell me, being a freelancer, do you really think a CV is important? You can unmute yourself and tell me, or you can just come and mention that in the chat box as well. Yes, okay. Anybody else? Perfect. CV plus portfolio. So the answer is correct. It is a yes. You might get confused thinking that, is it really required? I am a freelancer, but do I really require a CV? So what happens is, I'm sure if you all are freelancers or you are planning to become a freelancer, one of the biggest things that we face is that people think, is the person really a professional? Is the person really into doing the job, or are they serious about their job? So something like a CV, a portfolio, showcasing your work definitely gives them few of these points that I've mentioned. That is professionalism. You can showcase your experience, highlight what exactly you've done, tailored pitches. It also gives them an impact that, okay, if this is a project that I really want, my client has all these experience with them. Another thing is client requirements. And of course, a supportive portfolio definitely adds to a very great CV and gives a wonderful impact. So the first thing that we would talk about here is key elements of a freelancer CV. Starting with is something called a master CV. I am really not sure if you have heard something called a master CV. A master CV is a CV that can contain 3 pages, 4 pages, or even 5 pages. So that is like your master CV document, which has a record of your complete career. It can be a freelance work, it can be the work that you've done before, voluntary work, anything. So what happens is, as and when you start working, as and when you have projects that you are doing, if you start recording this in your master CV, when you have to tailor make your CV, it's easier for you to pick out those particular experiences, particular projects that you think is required, and add them to your main CV when you share it with anyone. So creating your master CV is the first important thing that you have to do. If you look at the key elements required for any generic CV, I do have a webinar that's coming up in the next 2 days where I will be discussing more into details as to what are the key elements of a generic CV. So if you attend that, you will have some more information on that. But I'm going to focus right now on freelancer CVs. So when it comes to freelance CVs, one of the most important thing, first of all, is your projects. Your projects are so important because you need to understand what exactly each project provides. Like, it can be the skill, it can be the expertise, and also which service you want to give. Being a freelancer, sometimes when you get some kind of a job or some kind of a project, you might wonder that, oh, why not I experiment this field? So you need to make sure that, do you really want to enter that different kind of field, or you want to stick on to the few services that you really want to provide? So this master CV, as I said, first will have a common page. Common page is the regular, your name, your details, educational qualification, all that remains normal. It's the same. But the 4 to 5 tailored pages that I've mentioned here is all about the projects that you'll do. For example, for me, I'll have one on CV writing, another one on recruitment, and another one probably on LinkedIn optimization. And I will write down each and every project that I do. No matter how big it is, no matter how small it is, each and every project is to be noted. So that's the main requirement of a master CV. The reason I ask you to create a master CV is so that you understand, okay, in this, these are all the projects I've done. Second is a profile statement or a summary. When we talk about a CV, the most important thing is the first impression that you create for all the people who are going to read. It can be a recruiter, it can be another client, it can be another company. Tailor making, again, your summary is very important, because when we provide a CV, you need to mention your highlights about the project that you've done, or that particular area of expertise that you want to showcase to your recruiters. That's why a profile statement or a summary is extremely important. Few things about a profile or a summary is that it should not be more than 3 to 5 sentences. It should be short. It should not have a lot of repetition. Don't try to include each and every achievement as a keyword into the profile statement. It will not look nice, and your profile statement is going to go beyond 5 lines, or maybe 6 lines or even more. So that is one very important thing, tailor making profile statements for each of the areas of expertise that you really want to showcase. That also you can prepare in your master's CV under each subheading. That is, under each area of expertise, you can mention that. Talking about key degrees or certifications, it also means that, for example, since I'm a CV writer, when I write about my CV writing skills, I will definitely write that I am a certified resume writer. But if I get into my next profile of being a recruiter, of course, I will mention that, but that wouldn't be the top priority. So I'm sure that as an example would give you an idea of how you could segregate your certifications and projects onto your master CV. I've mentioned 2 examples over here. So if you want, you can take a screenshot of that. Projects. I think this is one of the biggest confusing things when it comes to freelancers. Everybody wonders, how can I mention the projects, or what projects do I mention? We also get stuck with a lot of things, like you cannot mention the name of the company, you cannot mention the brand you worked at, or sometimes even the nature of the job. So what I've done here is I have mentioned 3 or to 4 kinds of different ways how you could present a project. I'll take you through one by one. So one is where this person works in an architect studio. The type of work is the same, but you've done multiple projects. So you do not have to describe each project, but probably you can just write down, these are the projects I've worked, and summarize what exactly you've done, because the nature of work is the same. So you can just mention it along with the brand name. Sometimes when companies say that you cannot mention a name, you can write a well-known architect company or a well-known IT firm. That's how you can mention it. That's one way. Another way is where under each kind of work, like for example, for me under CV writing, I'll say I have done, I can segregate for myself in terms of understanding the levels of people, like C-suite clients, career beginners. So I can say these many CVs I've done for career beginners. For C-suite, I've done so many. So similarly, when it comes to any other job role, when it comes to any other job role as well, segregate it. And under each, try to mention what exactly is the projects that you've done and the different kinds of projects that you've done. Second is to emphasize your skills. Another way of mentioning the projects is by emphasizing your skills. You can segregate it by the skills that you've done under each job role that you have, or under each project that you have, and then mention it. If you see over here, you can see a small screenshot where I've mentioned additional projects. So that is when you have done multiple freelance works, but you just have a one-liner to mention, or probably it's very important, but you don't want to mention it quite in a broad perspective. So you can make it together, club it together, and write it as additional projects. So that is not missed out. You can again take a screenshot of this, because this actually showcases different kinds of ways how you could project your projects or achievements. Next is area of expertise. Areas of expertise again comes down to the fact where you would segregate your work depending on what exactly you would be doing. For example, if I look into somebody who is into digital marketing, they can segregate their work in terms of video creation. Then they can write, they have done caption creation, they have taken care of LinkedIn, content calendar. So these are things you could write into areas of expertise. Most of the time, what happens is you might get confused between areas of expertise and even core skills or core competencies. So how you can segregate that is areas of expertise is clubbed into one particular word, which gives you different skills to do the job. For example, if you again go back to myself, where I am a CV writer, I would mention CV writing. But then when I get into writing about the skills that I write, I will write it's ATS friendly. I can write ATS friendly CVs, or I can say I can write modern version of CVs. So that's how you segregate. related. Areas of expertise is essential. You can even mention it right below your profile summary so that the recruiters or even your clients, your corporate clients, get an understanding as to what exactly do you do. Any questions you want to ask, you can in between. You can mention it in the chat box over here, or you can simply ask me. No? Okay. So I'll continue. Uh, we go on to core competencies. In today's world where CVs are something that's really important in terms of your career, you need to be very careful when you write what your core competencies are. Do not go into writing the olden style of core competencies where you write very, very basic things. But nowadays, core competencies are taken much more seriously, and it goes down to writing deep into what kind of skill sets do you have. So if we actually look into the examples that I've given you, you can see there are two kinds. One is where you can mention under each core competency, you can describe what you've done. You can say, okay, my core competency was into leadership. So what did you do? You encourage quality performance and productivity via hands-on training. So you can describe it. That's one way. Another way is just mentioning the name of the skills. I've given you two examples, so you have the option to choose one of them because that's how it really helps you all. Another thing is when it comes to core competencies or skills, you need to mention your technical skills. If you are a freelancer, when in terms of being into a technical field, like it can be a graphic designer or something, then you need to definitely segregate your technical skills and mention that, saying that these are my technical skills. These are the additional skills that I have, because that would definitely be one of the most important things to be mentioned in your CV. And again, core competencies, technical skills, areas of expertise should never be below the CV. It should just come under the profile heading or the summary. Next thing is sample worker portfolio. I think this is one of the most important things when it comes to being a freelancer. So having sample works or a portfolio link both work well, whether it is a creative field or a non-creative field. It is extremely essential to have one of this, because this can definitely be having a portfolio or showcasing your sample work is definitely one of the best ways of telling your clients that this is the different kinds of works that I've done, or this is the different kind of fields that I've worked in, the different areas that you worked in. So having that is extremely essential. And the links to that, like I mentioned here, can be placed right on top, just below where you've mentioned what your actual core role is, just below that. That's the best place to mention. So most of the clients or whomever you meet, they would just click on that and they would directly go into the link. So let's just read about that. So place a portfolio link prominently within your CV. Typically in the contact information section at the top in a dedicated portfolio or work sample section. Ensure that the portfolio link is a clickable one in digital versions of your CV, and that is so essential. Sometimes, we maintain our portfolio link on the CVs, and then finally you see that you really cannot click on it. Now, that is something really not nice. So make sure your links, whatever you mention on the CV, is definitely clickable. Test it with your friends or however you can make sure it works. Another way is, if you do not have a portfolio, how could you mention your samples? So once your CV ends in 2 pages, after the CV, make sure you at least have maybe mention the heading as samples and then work samples, and then you can put 2 to 3 work samples that you've done, and ensure these samples are different. Like you can showcase 3 different kinds of work that you're doing, or the 3 different projects that you've done. It can be pictures, it can be links, it can even be, for example, if you're a writer, you can simply put the link of the publication that is involved. So make sure your work sample is mentioned or the portfolio is mentioned, because that is extremely essential when it comes to freelancer CVs. Next is ATS. Before I mention what ATS is, I really want to know how many of you all really understand ATS. So you're curious to understand what exactly is it. You can mention in the chat box, or you can just unmute yourself and tell me about it. I've just got a question from Afifa. Afifa, I'm not sure of the recording. I'll have to check with Armin about that. You know about ATS. That's great. Okay. So ATS has been one of the biggest queries, which even my clients come up with, saying that what exactly is ATS? What happens with ATS? So ATS is nothing but a software. It's called an applicant tracking system. It has actually made things very easy for recruiters. But again, we need to make sure that our CVs get through ATS. So what happens is when we apply online for any job vacancy, when we see online, what happens is this software screens your CVs. How does it screen your CVs? It is on the basis of the job description that is mentioned. So now when you see a job description online, you need to read very thoroughly and understand what keywords are mentioned. Pick up those keywords and you have to mention that in your CVs. Because what happens is ATS has the habit, I would say, of screening CVs on the basis of these keywords. It will only capture keywords, and it will also capture things like how long is your CV, like is it 2 pages? Are you having multiple fonts on your CVs, like maybe your headline is in Calibri and then you see your subheading is in sans serif? That doesn't work with CV. So such kind of formatting, having a particular font on the CV, these are few things that ATS captures. But let me tell you, the most important thing is keywords. So what can you do? It doesn't sound so, I mean, when I speak to you about it, it might sound a little worrisome for you all, but it is not. So what you have to do is when you tailor make your CVs, when you read a job description, pick out the keywords, see what exactly they are looking for. Let me take an example. I see a freelance opportunity on LinkedIn where they say that telephonic interviewing is required. It's a freelance recruiter job description, and telephonic interviewing is required, which is not something that I've mentioned in my CV because I felt it's a norm. But this job description says you definitely need to have that. Though I may assume that isn't it understood by the recruiter that I would do telephonic interviews. If I really want ATS to take my CV and it should reach the recruiter, then definitely I should ensure that my CV has the word telephonic interviewing. It can even be, where we write the skills, the core competencies. You can just mention it there, or you can add a line to your CV saying that, okay, this is also one of my plus points. You can probably add a project that you've done or some work that you've done, but mention that word, and the word shouldn't be altered. If it's telephonic interview, try to make sure the same word is mentioned. I don't know if it's sounding a little difficult for you all. If it is, you have any queries on ATS, you can mention it here. I can tell you right away. Okay. So I am going to proceed. Let's talk. Okay, so we talk about CVs over here, but along with CVs, there's another very essential thing which I would like to speak about, because once your base is ready, your master CV is ready, you know what exactly you need to add to your CV. What's next? It's LinkedIn. Branding essentials with LinkedIn. LinkedIn is one of the most important tools, especially when it comes to being a freelancer. Let me ask you, how many of you all have a very active LinkedIn profile, or you have a LinkedIn profile? I would really love to know that. Nobody. If I see nobody, I'm not seeing responses. I would assume all of you don't have a LinkedIn profile. Active for only applying. Okay, that's good. Okay, good. So that's another way. Having a LinkedIn profile is amazing. Now, let me tell you a few tips and tricks on how you can be active on LinkedIn. There are, nowadays what has happening is, I think for the last few months, I should say, what I am seeing is LinkedIn is being used like Facebook. So that's the topmost and a big no when it comes to LinkedIn. You need to understand what exactly can you post on LinkedIn, what exactly can you mention on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is not a forum where you can say that you can talk about a lot of holidays. You can, but if you talk about holidays, link it with your job or link it with the work that you're doing. Don't simply say I went on a holiday. So, that is how LinkedIn works. Understand the difference and be active on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is one of the best ways of getting your clients or even telling the world that, listen, I am freelancing. So now let's see how you can get more active on LinkedIn. In today's competitive world, building a strong personal brand is crucial for freelancers, and LinkedIn is a powerful tool to achieve this. So definitely keep that in mind. So let's go on with the first one. First thing is to update your profile. So what actually experts say that if you have a picture on LinkedIn, for example, you should update the picture every 6 months. Put a different picture, put a different, I don't know if you know, LinkedIn has a banner, put a different banner, change the words that you have below your profile. All this is extremely important when it comes to LinkedIn. Also, updating your profile also means updating it in the most basic way. Like when I open a lot of LinkedIn profiles, I don't see a banner, it's completely plain. That gives suddenly an impression that, okay, I think the person is not active on LinkedIn. You can simply go to Canva if you want to get a banner, or just go to Google and type out LinkedIn banners. You'll get n number of banners. You might wonder what kind of banners can you put. You can put cloud words, like for example, if you're in HR, if you write HR cloud words, you get a lot of them. Or you can simply put plain colors. You can write blue colors, for example, blue shades, anything like that. Means something that's extremely professional. You can even put a quote if you want. Something simple and elegant along with your picture. Let's also talk about the picture when we talk about the profile. Any selfies are okay as far as it doesn't look like a selfie. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but sometimes we take selfies in a way that it's just very, very casual. That's a complete no for LinkedIn. Especially when you are a freelancer, if you are going to, have your profile in a way that looks extremely casual, that doesn't give that much of a great impression on somebody who's going to look at your profile. So get a nice picture clicked so people think that, okay, the person is quite professional and takes the work seriously. So updating your profile is extremely important. Updating new skills and projects is also important. One more small tip I'll tell you about updating your profile is, I always tell my clients, first update your CV and then update your LinkedIn, but never copy paste. It's a big no. Never ever copy paste your CV into your LinkedIn. But what happens is, why I tell you first update your CVs, because you get a lot of projects. You get to know what projects you've done, everything. So all that you have to ideally note down in your LinkedIn. So you do not have to do a lot of mental work, you can say, so that you know what exactly to add. So that is one very important thing. Update your profile, update your picture, and make sure your profile summary, the first part, the first heading of your profile is well presented, and it gives a good impression. Let's get into next is LinkedIn publishing. Many times we see a lot of posts. Somebody has put a new article, they've shared a new article, they've put a new post about maybe their achievement, for example. Put your comment on it. Put your comment saying that, I'm sorry, one person entering. Yeah. So when you see an article or a post, try to put your comment in the sense saying, do you support that? What's your point of view? Do you support it? Do you not support it? What do you think? And mention that along with your expertise a little bit, saying, this is what I think, this is what my client said. These are ways of showing you're active on LinkedIn, plus showing that, okay, I am also doing this kind of a job, means your profile is viewable for people, which is very, very important. Next is join relevant groups. So for example, I have someone who said she's looking for a job. Excellent, get into many groups. Again, over there, you can start commenting. So, your profile is visible. The main important thing of why we say LinkedIn should be updated is to increase your profile visibility, which is very, very essential. So the more you're active, the more you comment, or the more you repost, post, or put your actions into any kind of information that you see, it actually increases visibility. So joining relevant groups also not only improves visibility, it is also good for you to know what exactly is happening in the market. I know a lot of moms who has taken the sabbatical and want to come back to work, and they are probably started freelancing. So these groups also give you certain ways of understanding, okay, what's happening in the market, what is new, what are the new softwares that's coming. So use the tool, use these groups to update yourself and understand. Showcase your expertise. LinkedIn has this tool where you can contribute to their articles. That is where you can actually tick on understanding what articles you want to contribute to. Automatically it comes in. But again, that's only for the premium members. But otherwise also, whenever you see any article, try to contribute to that. Mention your viewpoint on that and be confident and mention about it. It's also another way of increasing your profile view and increasing your visibility. People will see that, oh, okay, this person, this is the job they do. Let me try connecting with the person. So your networking also increases. The last thing is create a content calendar. Okay, a content calendar sounds like a very big word, but when it comes to LinkedIn, what you could just do is start with posting once a week, at least once a week. Then after that, increase it to twice a week. So when you create a content calendar, take 4 weeks. For 4 weeks, you post once a week. Write down what you will be posting. That's what a content calendar does. So that even if you get busy, even if you don't have time, your content is ready. If you just sit for one day, create your calendar for a month, create what exactly you want to post, trust me, it's going to be very easy for you to even post it, and the regularity is maintained. So try doing a content calendar for yourself. It's a very simple process. You really do not have to get into Canva or anything, just a basic calendar that you can do on Excel. Anything you want to ask me in terms of LinkedIn? Okay. Let's talk about tailoring different CVs for different gigs. I think that's the most important thing. So we finished creating a master CV. You know what exactly to mention in the CV. You also entered into understanding what LinkedIn would benefit in terms of being a freelancer. Now let's understand how to tailor make your CVs. So becoming a freelancer can be liberating. It's also a little terrifying. Where do you begin? What process and structures do you have in place? And how do you find your clients? How much do you charge? All these things are there. But along with that, what is the first thing you could do is to create your CV, create your portfolio, and start off, kick off your freelance job saying that, okay, this is what exactly I do. I'm going to give you two scenarios of tailor making your CV. One is doing freelance work to fill the gap. So we have people who've lost their job, or sometimes you take a break. It can be for any reason. You take a break, which is more than 2 years, which is considered as a gap. But in that meantime, you think, okay, let me do freelance work so that at a point of time when I want to get into my full-time job, my CV doesn't show the gap. So that is one of the kind of freelance work CVs that I'm going to mention here about. So by taking on freelance projects during periods of unemployment, you not only demonstrate initiative and adaptability, but you also show that you remained productive and engaged in your field, which is essential. This approach can turn potential gaps into a narrative of continuous growth and commitment to your career. So if you see here, this is exactly two ways of showcasing your freelance work. One is a freelancer who has already done a freelance work previously, but though it may be many years back, you can just mention it as career history and mention where you worked. You do not have to describe it. That is also essential. Sometimes we, after many years of working, when we see that freelance work, we think it's not required, let's not mention it. But look at the benefit over here. I'm able to cover the gap for this client CV. So it's July 2013 to March 2014. So the gap is easily managed. Second way is for a person who recently lost a job and they are getting into doing a lot of freelance projects. So I've written freelance project management consultant and mentioned what is there. Now, you might think, what difference exactly would be done in terms of the profile summary or anything? It's just that when we want to, when we are doing freelance work just to cover the gap, and we do not want to do freelance in terms of like a full-fledged career or something that you seriously want to do for the next 2 years or 1 year, what you do is in your profile summary as well, do not mention or highlight about freelancing. You just basically mention what work you have been doing. Even when it comes to areas of expertise, your generic areas of expertise will come in, your generic core competencies will come. You will not concentrate just particularly on anything, especially when it comes to the freelance projects that you've done. You do not have to concentrate on that. Instead, it will be summarized. It will be summarized and mentioned saying these are the freelance work that I have done. So that's about filling the gap for those who've done freelance work. Second is a professional freelancer. So professional freelancer is someone very much like me or one of you all who's really looking into the freelance job and want to progress in terms of being a freelancer. So what happens is you need to, again, like I mentioned before, segregate in terms of the areas of expertise, write on what projects you've done. It is a slightly a different way of handling compared to the normal CVs that you have, because you literally tailor make each and every part of that CV. So that's how a professional freelance CV works. So freelancers who work professionally bring the same level of dedication, expertise, and accountability as full-time employees. Let's read a few things about what's mentioned in the CV. Let's identify the job requirement, highlight the relevant experience, which is extremely important, and customize your professional summary. Last is to tailor the structure. Tailor the structure is nothing but you need to just segregate where you want to mention your projects and where you don't want to mention your projects, depending on the areas of expertise. Again, I do not want to confuse this part saying that if you are tailor making your CV, that doesn't mean the projects that you've done, which is not relevant to that particular area of expertise required by the recruiter, should be completely omitted. It should not be, but it can be mentioned right below as a summary or just as bullet points. That's all. It should not be omitted because it also gives the recruiters a broader picture that, okay, the person can also do these aspects because it's in the same field. It falls under the same wing. Let's talk about common CV mistakes. This is one of the traditional CVs that I have put a screenshot over here about. It's the oldest form of CV format where you mention home address, street address, details. You can see objective is just in one line, which is a complete no. And use of words, like where you use words like I. And if you look at these sub points, it's just mentioned into simple words where job description is converted into saying that this is the kind of work that I've done. Now, this is not correct. When we write about the job that you've done, you just have to mention what results you've achieved, what projects you've done, and how did you achieve those results. And through those points, it will give a picture as to what skills you attained or what areas of expertise did you go through. So that is how it should be mentioned. But instead, if you just mention responsible for assisting and developing and implementing, that doesn't give a clear picture. It's just like mentioning a one-liner of your job description. So let's read through it. One is, yes, outdated contact information like home address. That is a complete no. Mentioning the word reference on request. Reference on request is something that's a definite no. It just cannot be mentioned in your CV anymore. It no more exists, because references, definitely some big companies has references as a completely different department, or if they require, they'll just ask you, but it need not be mentioned in your CV. It's really quite an outdated method of mentioning it. I also want to emphasize on mentioning languages in the CV. So if you are in a country, like for example, we are in UAE, so definitely Arabic is a plus point. So ensure, those details are mentioned in your CV, saying that languages, these are the languages I know. But if you think you know English and probably your mother tongue, and these are the only two languages that's mentioned, you can mention English, you can write down what is the level of English that you know. You can omit your mother tongue ideally, because I feel providing or writing your mother tongue provides a little bit of bias for the recruiters. It can be in terms of even understanding the nationality. Next is having very little or no profile summary, very similar to the example that I've presented here, where it's an objective and just one line, it's a complete no. Using overly complex language to exaggerate the importance of your work. A lot of times, many people think that you need to use the best of the best English. It's not required. You can use very basic English, but the only requirement is adding resume related words, that is keywords and also actionable verbs. This is all that is required. So whenever you write your CVs, whenever you write your projects, try to make sure the language is simple. Of course, you can use complex language if it is required, or if you think that is your level of language. Otherwise, basic English is something that's very much required in a CV. Overloading with information. I think this is one of the most common mistakes that I see. Sometimes we are in so much of we are worried. We are like, no, we want the recruiters to know each and every project that you've done, but it doesn't work that way. We do not have to mention that. We as recruiters, we always say the client should have a little surprise element for us to know as well. So whenever you write your CVs, remember this point. Clients, the recruiters should have some element of surprise. So what should you mention is only the topmost projects that's required. Also projects that show diverse areas of expertise. That's all that is required. Do not crowd your CVs with all the projects. And I don't think recruiters would read so much. Next is neglecting to tailor the CV. Before, if you see a couple of years back, you needed only one CV to apply for any job application. But remember, it is extremely essential now to tailor make your CV. Like I said, having a master CV and creating, tailor making your CV becomes one of the most easiest way of applying for any kind of job that you require, or it can even be for any of the contract job that your clients may be asking for as a freelancer. So having that master CV makes your work easier, and it doesn't give you a thought that, okay, I need to tailor make this CV. So, but remember, this is one of the most essential points of creating a CV as well. Again, talking about ignoring keywords, you know what happens when you ignore keywords, then ATS is not going to screen through the CVs. Being a freelancer, also, there are n number of opportunities given by companies through their webpage, through LinkedIn, various sources, but they also go through the ATS system. That is when you get into the corporate sector of working as a freelancer. So ATS is extremely important in that way. So make sure that keywords is essential and you do follow that. So before we get into conclusions, I really would like to open the floor and ask any of you all have any queries. I would love to know. Just tell me if you have a query, if you think you have a CV that's already made, or you are planning to make a CV. It can be anything. Please let me know.
I actually have a question. So let's say I haven't really freelanced before.
Okay.
And, so all the aspects of, and okay, like for example, I work as a marketing manager.
Okay.
And let's say I'm trying to get into freelance. Now I've dipped my feet into everything. So in terms of portfolio that I have to add,
Yeah.
to get a job, and in terms of like adding the relevant keywords to a
Mhm.
certain job. Now, haven't worked in, let's say, a certain kind of industry to use those keywords or to showcase the kind of projects I worked on. So then, how do I really start freelancing? Where do I look?
Mhm.
Um, Whether should I be looking locally or internationally? And anything about freelance visa, if it's needed or not, if you could tell. Thank you.
Okay, so when it comes to freelance works, I think that's the most toughest part, right? Cracking the part that, okay, fine, I am a freelancer right now and getting projects. So I'll tell you, talk about myself over here. Initially, when I wanted to freelance, I tried getting projects from my friends, like do it for them on a free basis, because I had one aim. I wanted samples of the work that I've done. It can be different kind of projects that I've taken. It can be different sectors that I've entered. So this is one way how you could enter into a freelance work. Secondly, if you're saying that you have experience in different fields, but you're really unsure of how you could mention that or tell them that this is what I've done, just mention the projects. You can separately write, like this will be a skill-based CV. So when you concentrate on your skills and you do not write that this is what you've done as a full-time, when you were a full-time employee, so you can segregate and mention that and write the areas of expertise saying this is exactly what I've done. So
Uh, so
yeah,
what I meant was for the portfolio. Now, let's say like
portfolio.
if I worked in fashion
Yeah.
and now I'm applying as a free, if let's say I worked in fashion as a copywriter and
Mhm.
then I'm getting into, I don't know, banking as a copywriter,
Mm.
then how would my portfolio become relevant to that? How would I actually use the kind of keywords that, to and apply it in my CV to make
Mhm.
them hire me for that job?
Okay, so in that case, the main thing is not to highlight the fact that I worked in fashion, but you should highlight the fact that I have written content. So that should be your highlight. Take the skill. Your skill should be the topmost part. Do not mention your industry. Don't highlight your industry, but say that I have experience in writing. I understand writing in fashion, or for example, content writing in banking can be entirely different, for example. But again, you need to mention that you are able to write different kind of content. Like if it is not only fashion, if it is any other sector also that you've written, you can mention that. So
Where
keep
do I
the industry,
mention that? Sorry, sorry, I
yeah,
keep.
there in the portfolio.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
in the
mean, like,
portfolio and on the CV, actually, both of it. Because remember, recruiters will first read your CV. So, under areas of expertise, you can write, this is the content I've done. And over there, do not highlight your industry. So, only when the recruiter reads below is where they'll see, okay, this is the industry. And when it comes to portfolio, again, do not segregate the fact that this is fashion, or don't make an industry based portfolio. You should do a skill based portfolio and a skill-based CV, which is entirely different.
but how would I make a skill-based CV if I can't showcase the kind of copywriting work I've done? Like I have to show screenshots or samples of, like, let's say I put
Samples,
something
yeah,
on the website, but
correct,
it
yeah.
happens to be a fashion website, but I'm
Mhm.
showcasing my range. So in a way, I have to kind of show the industry. So is
Yeah,
there any way around that?
yeah.
Like if you're
So
skill-based.
no, what you said is right. Of course, when they read the content, they will understand, okay, this is fashion industry. But the thing is about writing the different kinds of writing work that you've done. For example, you can say for me, I can say that, okay, I do not want to showcase the fact that I have only concentrated on the retail industry CVs, for example. So what would I do? I will say that I have done CVs in different sectors, like for beginner level, for C-suite clients, and that is what I would mention. I will never mention the word stating that I have done only retail CVs. It's for them to find out if they want to. But what you showcase is what you read, is what they will read as a recruiter.
Okay. And where
So
all do
search on skill-based CVs, or maybe later on I can send you a few samples. So skill-based CVs or skill-based portfolio is what you should look for. Don't look for a generic CV, which will not suit exactly what you require.
okay. And where do I apply as a freelancer? Like, should I, like, over here? Because I
Yeah.
seem to have that kind of difficulty.
I know, I know. For me also as a freelancer, LinkedIn is really the best place, really, really the best place. Put yourself out, like I said, updating yourself, mentioning the content, being active on LinkedIn, saying this is the work I've done, even if it is a small event that you've attended, put yourself out saying how it has also helped your freelance work. And like I said, voluntarily take projects. If you see any project, even if it is unpaid, because you are in the starting stages, I'm saying, take it up and mention that. Say that, oh, I did a project recently. This is what I've done. These are the plus points. Write something about it. So that is where you can start showcasing yourself in the market, saying, I am freelancing now.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm not planning to get into it full time,
Okay.
but this is just like during my unemployment phase, trying to get
Okay.
some kind of project work.
I get
Um,
that.
but and would you also happen to know where I can find the kind of rates that need to be charged, for certain kind of skills and things like that? Like, how does it work? Like,
Yeah.
how would I know if somebody asks me how much I charge? Because that was one of the biggest problems I kind of faced
Faced.
because
Yeah.
I've worked constantly. I mean, I started off in social media into content marketing, into
Yeah.
marketing manager. But
Mhm.
like I've never worked as a freelancer. And I know that you
Okay.
sometimes if I have to focus on skill based, that means I have to go try as a writer because that is my strength.
Okay.
But I know they charge per word. So those are things that's kind of beyond me.
Beyond you. I'll first answer your question where you said that you're just trying to fill your gap. If you're trying to fill your gap, do not put yourself saying a lot that you are a freelancer. What you can do is you can just mention, I've done these I've done these projects. Okay, so do not
Okay.
mention in your LinkedIn highlights saying like a freelancer. Do not do that because you will lose opportunities as a full-time employee. There are people who's headhunting. They will see your profile and they might be like, okay, so she's a freelancer, then why should I approach her? So that's first number one thing that you need to do. Do not mention the word freelancer in the main profile area where you write your summary and everything, not there. But below where you mention your projects, you can say as a freelance, I've just taken this during my career break or something like that, you can mention. Okay.
Okay.
Secondly, you asked about cost. One thing is to understand which market you want to look into. If you just want to do locally at the moment, you have to research online and understand the market rates because every market, the rate is entirely different. And you have to create your rate cards for each market in a different way because for me, for example, it's entirely different when it comes to each and every market, India or internationally, any other place. So that is only done through research.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So
So more
yeah.
research to be done. But thank you for that.
Yes. Thanks, Meera. Thank you. Anybody else? I want all of you to get into LinkedIn. Like I tell all my clients that, let LinkedIn be your Instagram. We keep scrolling through Instagram, right? Take that time a little bit for LinkedIn. Take your time, see what's happening because LinkedIn gives you an update on what's happening in the market. It gives you a lot of information. So today onwards, if you all can make LinkedIn as your Instagram, at least for some time, I think that will really do wonders in terms of your freelance work or even understanding how exactly you could progress as a freelancer. Anybody else has any question you can ask. But again, let me just come back to conclusion where I said that master CV is the most important thing that we need to do. Secondly, is record each and every work that you do. Sometimes we think that, oh, this was a very small project. I finished probably in a day or two. Why should I mention that? You never know when that work is going to come useful for you or handy for you in terms of your CV or even to mention to a person. Each and every project should be recorded in your master CV. It can even be maybe you helped a friend who has a startup business just to design something. Please mention that. Lastly, get active on LinkedIn. That's exactly what I told you right now. Today onwards, I really want LinkedIn to be a part of your Instagram scrolling time. So please do that. And this is my contact details. Please do get in touch with me if you have any queries in terms of CV writing, or if you really have a doubt saying that I don't know what to do with LinkedIn. It can be portfolios or it can be CVs. This is my contact details. Connect with me through LinkedIn as well. I would love to see you all there. Anything else to be asked? Okay. I think that's it. And I think it was really nice doing this webinar. It's something very different because freelancing is something which a lot of people do, but somewhere you get stuck thinking, how do I promote this? And I hope it was really useful for all of you, and looking forward to meeting you somewhere, especially on LinkedIn. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kavitha. Thank you for this. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And the recording will be available in 2 days' time, and you will get an update for that. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.